Hello, welcome to H. Cooper Crafty Bug. I am Hyla and welcome to my channel. In this video we're going to finish up this extra long mini mum, and I do have a series and a playlist featuring all the videos and lives where I worked on this mum. Now I don't know if you remember, but when I finished up on the last live I had actually attached this last backer, but the next morning I noticed that it was coming off a little bit, and when I pulled on it, it just pulled right off. So what I'm thinking is because of the ribbon spool ends, which I've used for years, but these ribbon spool ends were super glossy. I'm thinking that's the reason that they came apart so easily. So I'm gluing it back on, but using two different glues. And then I decided to go ahead and give it a staple as well, which I'll show that. And then put some vinyl on the backing to just give it a cleaner look. It did cause me some more work and a little bit of frustration, but I want it to look as nice as possible, and I want to make sure that nothing else comes apart. And I also put that pin on the backer because we were kind of talking about those type of pins. I do ribbons with a safety pin most of the time, but like on actual ribbon pins that I make or very small mums, I'll use those pins like you see glued on the back. And like I said, that was on the last live. I think the video before was a live stream if I remember correctly, and you can see me attaching that. So having that on the backer caused me a little bit more issue, but it's fine. It came out beautiful and she loved it, so that's all that matters. And I put all those clips around it because that helps just keep it closed and until the glue dries, and so I'm not standing there pushing and squeezing and waiting for the glue to dry. It does it for me, so I can set it aside, or I can start work on something else, on either another mum or that mum. I'm just measuring how big to make the custom cutout. It's not just by flower size. I kind of see how much room I have around the flower as well. And I've already worked on the two custom cutouts that I wanted to make for her mom. So one was the school logo. The only issue with her school logo, or it's actually her grandson's school logo, was there's a fine line around the S and F, and I knew that would be an issue. So if you look closely, you can see that fine line in gray. So I knew that was not going to cut out well. And I could not get it to delete. I tried to get rid of that part and I just couldn't do it. If you guys know a way, please let me know in the comments so other people know and learn from you, because I am still learning. I've been using Cricut for over a year now, not quite a year and a half, and it's just still a learning process. So I'm adjusting the height, and you can adjust just the height or just the width if you don't know that, or you can do the whole thing. You just have to unlock that little key, or that lock, the lock, and you can adjust just the width or just the height if you need to adjust it like that. So I'm just trying to make it the perfect size to fit on her flower and on the head of the mum. A lot of times I go a little bit bigger than the flower because no two cutouts cut out the same size. I mean, unless they're the same design, of course. But like, let's say you're doing somebody's name. It's going from, left to right on the width. It could be like, let's say Addie and then Maddie. The M and the A are going to have different points, and the measurement is going to be from that furthest point, that no matter how small that point is on the left and that point is on the right, like the curve or the point or whatever it is. So you could cut one at 5 inches and another one at 5 inches and it look a lot smaller or a lot bigger. It has to do with the font you're using and which letters they are. So keep that in mind, because I've had some that came out much smaller than I wanted, and I've had some that came out bigger than I wanted. So sometimes you really just have to play around with it. You see, I was trying to play around with getting rid of the lines and I just couldn't get it to work. Sometimes if you use contour, you can get rid of stuff you don't want. So I'm just going to cut it out, and then I won't even worry about that little piece. I'll just throw that away. It's so fine and so tiny, you can't get that to cut right on cardstock. There's no way you could get it off the mat and then attach it to your custom cutout. It's just too fine of a line. I'm not even sure if it would work on heat transfer vinyl or any other vinyl. You guys would just have to let me know. It's such a fine line. But it turned out fine without that line. You just pick out which, what you're using, smart vinyl permanent, cardstock, glitter cardstock, whatever it is you're using. And for some reason I lost some of my favorites. I don't know why. I had it full of like 12 favorites and I lost some of them. So you just browse if you can't find what you're looking for. And I'm going to cardstock, and then I'm going to find which one I want from there. So glitter cardstock, and then I'm bookmarking it so it'll save it to the favorites. I guess that's the favorites. It's what I use the most. And so you're just loading your mat. And I actually am showing, after this, I'm going to show it from the viewpoint of showing the Cricut too. I was going to do a split screen or something like I've done in the past, but I decided to do it separately. I just show you one or the other, and then you press go on your Cricut and it just starts the cut, prepping and then detecting and then cutting. So I'm going to let this play and I will find some music to play. Hopefully it's not loud and shocking. And then when I need to talk again, I'll do some more voiceovers. Okay, always be sure to save, especially if you do any little bit of changes. Constantly save your work. I have gotten kicked out of Cricut before, like it's locked up and stuff, and I've lost images. So make sure you're saving, and I try to save it before I even go to cut it, but I forget a lot of times. So here is the second cutout. It's the wolf. So I'm sorry, I've already shown getting it from off of Google and uploading it and all that. I need to do a video to show that, and I just keep forgetting. So this kind of work is like good for late night, like if you're watching TV or you've got your computer on your lap or something, your laptop. This kind of stuff is when I get that type of stuff done, like the cutouts and the stickers and stuff like that. When I'm resting, when you need to put your feet up or something, this is the good time to get the laptop out and work on all that kind of stuff that you can do on the computer. Again, I want to check the sizes and see how big I want it, and I actually ended up cutting it out twice because the first time I cut it out, I didn't like the silver background with the hunter green on top. I didn't feel like it popped, and I wasn't completely happy with the size either, so I am going to change that up. I'm going to swap the colors and make it a little bit, I think I made it a little bit bigger if I remember correctly. But they both ended up turning out good, like once the glue dried and everything. So I ended up putting both of them on the mum. It was like it needed both of them. There was a spot for both of them, so it was one of those happy accidents. I guess it wasn't really an accident, but you know what I mean. I only meant to cut one. That was the plan, but I went off plan and cut two, and then I ended up using both of them. So that was fine. That was great. Again, size them. This is a mini mum, even though it's extra long, so it's not going to have big spaces for big cutouts. A 4-inch flower, so you've got to be careful about how big you're making your cutouts. Again, I'm doing cardstock, glitter cardstock. You can do your top layer with HTV vinyl. I know some people even do like permanent vinyl. I still have not tried that. It just it doesn't sound great to me on top of glitter cardstock. I've never seen anything stick to glitter cardstock without glue. So I just can't comprehend it. But I've been told that it works. And I do know HTV works. So I have tried that. But I don't have a ton of colors in HTV. And so... And I think, I know that for like intricate things, I think it works a little bit better, but you have to have more colors than your HTV vinyl if you don't have the colors, and then you have to get your heat press out. So, yeah, you're gluing one and then the other one you're heat pressing. So I don't know if it really saved. I know some people say it's a lot better because you're not worried about the glue. And, you do have glue that oozes out. You don't have to worry about that with HTV and stuff like that. So it's got its ups and downs, I think. Again, loading and all of that, show cutting this. So we will do some more music, and I will come back when I need to talk again. Okay, I wanted to explain what I'm doing here. The green vinyl, I'm sorry, I was thinking about the vinyl. The cardstock, the glitter cardstock is not a full sheet. It's a sheet that I've already used, so there's some cut off. So I'm showing how to move the image to a different part on the mat that's going to work for that piece of glitter cardstock. So that is what I'm doing here. That's why I'm moving that. Okay, so here is where I changed it up because I wasn't completely happy with it. So I made it a little bit bigger, and then I reversed the colors. Some colors pop against each other's and others don't, and so you're like, I can't really tell what it is, and I was afraid that this was going to be one of those instances, but it turned out a lot better once it glued. After the glue set, I mean. Alright, so here's the viewpoint of the mat and the cardstock and all of that. So you saw it from screen recording, and now you're going to see me actually working. And you see that piece of dark green cardstock already has a section out of it. So that's why I moved the image on the mat on the design space. And I got just a small piece of silver out. I keep all these partial sheets and envelopes in those clear envelopes because it just helps me keep them organized, and try not to waste any cardstock as much as I can. I don't keep like really small pieces, but you know, if it's a fourth or a fifth of a sheet, because some of these cardstocks cutouts that you need are small, so might as well not waste all those small pieces. Just carefully removing that. That was really easy to take off. It wasn't, you know, any intricate little design, so easy enough. Then I'll just put this silver on there after I show you guys. So that's the background piece for the SF, and it turned out really well. I was really happy with it. So again, this smaller piece of glitter cardstock. And they do make different shades of silver. They make some that are more like a pewter and some that are really light. So you can find different colors of silver. Of course, if you're doing it with white, you know, you might want to go with the darker silver because it'll pop a little bit better. And then again, if you're using the silver with a dark color, then you might want to go with the lighter silver to make it pop. And it was, I have that box in those boards back there because that's actually where I set up my camera when I do lives. I have it more in between the Cricut and where the laptop is, but I had just pushed it back over there, and it's on a bar stool. So that's my big setup for my live. You guys can see that behind the scenes. Okay, so here's, see, and it didn't even use very much of that silver. I don't know if you can see that, but that's that fine line I was talking about that was around the SF that was not going to cut out well, that I'd not be able to use. And the reason why I wanted to get rid of it is because I knew it was going to be all over my mat. It was going to make a mess, and it was going to cause me more work on cleaning off my mat, but that's okay. Got to do what you got to do. So this came off in a few different pieces just because of the way the SF was designed. It wasn't like a solid S and a solid F. But again, they're big chunky pieces, so it's fine. Here's some more of that. See, there's no way you could pull that off and use it because it's just all stretched out. And there's part of the F. Just want to be careful. And there's all the pieces, and that, like I said, I was really happy with that, except for that mess. But I just had to scrape it off and then get a baby wipe to clean off the excess. And that little tool there, I know Cricut makes some, but I got mine at the Dollar Tree. I got 2 of them, and they work great. Yep, there's all that mess. Look at that. So it would have been nice to have gotten rid of that on Design Space and not had to worry about that, but it's not a huge deal if you have a little mess that you have to clean up. Just get you a baby wipe. I keep that container of baby wipes, and it cleans the mat better than anything else, in my opinion anyway. Okay, so I'm just trying to place it on the flower and kind of get a feel of how it's going to look on the flower, if I'm going to like it, and it turns out perfect, so I'm happy with it. I don't have to recut anything there. And then I'm going to measure the spot where I wanted to put the wolf. I had a few options of the wolf. There's a little blank spot right there, and then those glitter, they are the diamond dust ribbon. You know, I could easily glue it on either one of those. So I'm just kind of measuring around and seeing what's the best option on where to put it at, and then I'm going to cut out the wolf. So that's when I was sizing the wolf. That's what I was doing. I was measuring around. And again, that piece is big enough that I can cut the wolf out of it on as well. Just cut off that SF. I always cut off those parts that have been previously cut because they can get hung up in the roller when it rolls the mat in. Those pieces will easily get hung up and screw up and you can mess up your machine, or you can just get it hung up and cause you a lot of issues. So make sure you cut those off each time you use some cardstock. So it's okay to keep using these small pieces, just make sure you cut off all those weird edges and stuff. Okay, so the green cardstock, I'm going to use that little piece that's at the top, that square part at the top for the wolf, because it's the perfect size for it, and that's why I was moving the wolf. When you saw earlier when I was on Design Space, that's why I moved the wolf, and you can just see the measurements on the mat, so you know where to place it on Design Space, because there is a grid on Design Space as well, so you know exactly where to put your design. I was a little worried about the wolf part, the outline, whether or not it was going to cut out correctly or not. and it did fine, so I was happy with that. I was like, it's not really popping like the way I want it to, so that's why I cut it again in the different colors, and I do not show that since I showed cutting it out in this. I didn't find any use in showing you just reversing the colors. But you did get to see it on Design Space, just not me actually cutting it out. Now I'm going to skip ahead, and this is where I cut out the vinyl circles, and I just cut out the same size of my backer. And I cut out several because sometimes I want to add some vinyl to the back of the backers because they just don't look clean or don't look good to me. So I do have some extra circles pre-cut in different colors. I just didn't have any that were 4 inches. And this is just some cheap vinyl. I'll use like the cheapest vinyl for this kind of thing because, again, you're not making anything intricate. You're just making circles, and you're just covering up the back of the mum, the backer on the back of the mum. So this is perfect for that. And you see it's kind of wrinkly too, so you can tell it's not great vinyl. But it has its purposes, and this is one of them. So don't be afraid to buy some of the cheaper vinyl for some projects like this. And it is a lot thinner of a vinyl too, so I think it did cut through like all the layers. So probably I need to adjust the blade to, it's on default, but you can make it where it goes deeper and then not as deep, or I can't remember what they call it now, but right before you press go, I think it is, or maybe it's when you load the mat. See how it cut through all of it. And I'm trying to get it through here so I can cut that cleanly across, but it's not working well for me. It finally went through. That just gives it a clean cut. You don't have to use something like this. You can use scissors, or a rotary cutter works great with a ruler. And then I'm going to show you kind of the issues that I also had with attaching this vinyl. If you don't have anything on the back, or like any kind of pin or anything, all you have to do is take that circle off, that vinyl circle, and stick it on there as evenly as you can. No big deal. But since I went ahead and put that pin on there, it caused me some issues. Adjust my camera so you can see. And the only reason why I'm doing the vinyl is because I had decided to add some staples on the 2 backers too, because I was afraid after them pulling apart like that, I was afraid even with that other glue that they were going to pull apart. So I went ahead and added those extra staples, and then thought I'll just put some vinyl to cover up the staples and I'll be good. And the staples I had facing the other way, like the clean part of the staples were facing where I'm touching, so there wasn't anything jagged, because if there was jagged staples I would need more than some thin vinyl. So be careful of that. Make sure you're not putting something thin like this over the jagged edges of your staples. You want to put a clean backer back there. You can even put some felt, a felt circle. That works too. Just make sure that there's nothing jagged or sharp coming off the back, that you can't feel it, that it's not going to catch on somebody's clothes, it's not going to scrape them or scratch them or anything like that. You don't want to do that. They're never going to buy another mum from you if you do that. So I kind of measured where that pin was. My idea was to put half or part of it under the pin and then another part over the pin, and it worked out pretty well, but not perfectly. I wanted to try a couple different options. And I don't remember what I'm doing here. Oh, this is where I staple it. I hadn't stapled it yet. I had forgotten that part. So you see, I don't have the sharp edges facing the back. So I was only trying to cover those up. Just because, I mean, you could catch on clothes a little bit, I would think, with that. But it's more for looks and feel and everything. There's always an issue with making a mum. There's always something that's going to give you a hard time. So don't stress about it too much. just find a fix for it and move on. And if that fix doesn't work, find another fix for it. If you get very frustrated, put it down, walk away, go do something else, whether it's for 5-10 minutes, whether it's for the evening, or you wait till the next day. Don't keep working on it if you're getting like very frustrated, because nothing's going to work. And you're going to end up probably making a bigger mess. So for me, I know if I just walk away, and like I said, even if it's just go fold some laundry or go eat, or, you know, do some dishes or walk around for a little while, or even just say that's it for tonight. I'm not touching another mum until the next day, and then come back with fresh eyes. And it always works out fine if I do that. So I don't care how like stressed out you are, how much time limit you're on, give yourself a break when you get to that point. You've got to have that break, or you're just it's gonna cause you a lot more stress, and you don't need all that. And like I said, you may end up making a bigger mess of it because of all the, you know, the frustration and stress. So always tell yourself, okay, it's time to walk away. You know, your body's going to tell you to walk away when it's time to walk away. And like I said, it can only 5-10 minutes or hours or a night, you know, whatever you need to get back to where you need to be, then come back then. You see, it did a pretty good job. It wasn't perfect. And then I wanted to try it another way, where I just had a slit in it. And that vinyl was so thin, I was like, I can still feel the staples. So I wanted to do another one anyway. If I had used a better vinyl, it would have covered all that. So I had to use 2 circles because it's so thin. And this is the Dollar Tree vinyl. So it's only $1.25 for a roll of it. So it's not like I'm wasting any money by using 2 of them. But if I used my good quality vinyl, I would have only needed 1. See, I'm trying to mark where that is, and I'm just going to cut a slit and see if that works too, because I normally don't have to worry about the pin. If I put a pin on the back, I normally don't have to worry about that. And I just used the sharp edge of the scissors to make a slit. I have an X-Acto knife. I just was too lazy to dig it out. And I forgot I had that sheet, that matte sheet cover, whatever you want to call it, on there. So I was cutting on top of that. That wasn't smart. You see there, I just had a little slit in there. And that worked okay, but it was still kind of... It kind of bubbled up a little bit, so it wasn't perfect, but it turned out okay. Once it was done, it was fine. Everything worked out. I ended up pulling those off. I didn't like them. They weren't on there very securely either with just the hot glue. They pulled right off. So there's the SF. So this is another day. These have set overnight under books, so they are pressed really well. And of course I use like waxy sheets in between them so they don't stick. And I loved it. It turned out perfectly. She was extremely happy with this. She was happy with the whole mum, which always makes me happy when somebody loves their mum. Trying to get the best angle. I wish I could do a camera above, but that's not a possibility for me in my craft room. So I'm putting some hot glue in places. And then go ahead and using some of that glue in a couple places too, just to make sure it stays where you want it to stay permanently. And I have Lucy with her head on my lap right now, giving me sad eyes. I guess I'm on the computer too long for her. I'm almost done, baby. So I like to lay a pair of scissors or something on top of the cutout on the flower. If it's a big cutout on a big mum, sometimes I'll use like my heavy plier stapler, and it just kind of weighs it down and lets that hot glue cool down a little bit, and it's letting it set on the flower, so I'm not burning my fingers trying to squeeze the flower petals. It gives it just enough weight to let it sit, glue to the petals without me hurting myself. So I'm just moving it around, seeing where I like the wolf. And like I said, I ended up attaching both of them, and I was glad that I ended up having two because it felt like it ended up needing two. So like Connie always says, a happy accident. As you see, it's not like a huge contrast there in colors, so it doesn't, that's the only thing I was like, you know, you can tell it's a wolf, but it's not like, it doesn't just scream at you what it is because of the colors. And that happens sometimes with whatever color choices it is. There's nothing you can do about it. If it's the school colors, it's the school colors, and if they don't pop, they just don't. Maybe if I had done foil with the green glitter, it may have popped more, I don't know. Foil can be a little bit harder to work with because like when you hot glue it, you can see where you hot glued it. And again, I'm just moving them around to see where I like them. And I was, again, happy with both of them. Happy that they were both on there, and she liked them too, so that was great. So just because you have something in your mind, like where you want to put it, how it's going to look, doesn't mean it turns out that way. So you have to improvise when you're mum making as well. And now that that hot glue has almost cooled down, I can go through and squeeze the petals and make sure that it's on there real secure. I was super happy with this mum. I love the vinyl on it. I love the stacked loop chain, the SF on the flower, the bling, but not over blinged. I just thought it turned out really, really well, and she loved it. So, and that's what really mattered. It's going to be a special night. His senior year. It's for senior night. So, you know, you want it to be perfect and as much as possible. I want them to be extremely happy with it and something that will remind them of that night, and it seemed to do that, so that makes it all worth any of the issues you have, any of the problems that it gives you. When somebody gets it and they're just so ecstatic about having it and appreciating your hard work, it just makes it all worth it. Okay, so I'm going to glue that one there. And I'm going to use the hot glue and the beacons to make sure it stays on there. She did order early for senior night, so she's going to have it for a couple of months at least. I can't remember when it is. I think it's in September. So we want to make sure everything is secure and lasts. And I know she hung it up as soon as she got it and putting it up, not messing with it, and then keeping it up and keeping it in good condition and where nothing can get to it until that night. So she's taking good care of it. That's something I have to tell my customers now that order early. As much as I appreciate the ones that order early, if they have small children, you really got to tell them that they need to put it up and not let them play with it, because things are going to fall off of it. Things are going to get broken on it. Things are going to get messed up on it. And then it's not going to look brand spanking new for homecoming. And they will blame you for it. They really will, unfortunately. That has happened to me. I'm sure I've told that story a million times, but I just want people, I want people to learn from the things that I have learned as making a mom, or in my journey of making moms. So any issues that I have come across with not only making the moms, but with customers, I share that, not just to vent, because that is something, it's good to vent to other people, like-minded people, because they can understand, but also so you guys can learn from those mistakes or those things that come up. And I always adjust things with my business when things like that happen, so I know how to deal with customers in case that happens. So now I tell them in advance in a letter. I send them like a thank you letter with their mom. Oh, here's a cute bow I'm attaching to it. It had to have a bow on it. But anyway, the letter, of course it's a thank you letter, but it does tell them to check all the stickers when they get it, make sure the stickers are all on there well, or the vinyl, and to let me know immediately if there's any vinyl that's missing or, messed up, so I can get them replacement vinyl. And then also to hang it up somewhere and keep it away from the kids and not let them touch it and play with it, because things can get messed up, and that it's not my responsibility if they let them play with it and it gets messed up before homecoming. So please learn from that, especially if you ship moms. If somebody's local, it's not as big of a deal, because if something happens to the mom, they get it home and they see something's missing, they can bring it back to you and you can fix it really fast. But when you ship moms, you can't do that. So when you do ship moms, you really got to make sure that everything is secure on there before you mail it. And then I always worry about the extreme heat, especially at the beginning of homecoming season. The people that order during the summer or at the end of summer, you think about those hot conditions, and it's always a shock to me that everything is not falling off the moms when they receive it, but so far that has not happened. I think one time I had one sticker, and the lady said the sticker fell off, but she put it right back on there and added a little touch of glue, and she said it was fine. So that's the only issue in 3 or 4 seasons on Etsy shipping moms. I can't remember. Has it been 3 or has it been 4? 4. It's been 4. 2020, 2021, 2022, and this will be the 4th season. And I've already shipped some this season, so it's already started for me. Also, I have been saying that this is my 9th season making moms. This is my 10th season. I looked back. This is my 10th season. I've already started this season, so 10 seasons of making homecoming moms, or 10 years of making homecoming moms. Is that not crazy? It's not technically 10 years, but it is 10 seasons, because I started 2014, right before homecoming, and I guess now we're right there, so it's been almost 10 years. So for those people that like to say that Crafty Bug is not an experienced mum maker, and to find an experienced mum maker, please tell me what 10 years of making mums makes me. I think that makes me an experienced mum maker. I don't know about the rest of you, but I think even if you've only been making mums for 2 years, you're an experienced mum maker, because you've had 2 years experience. You go through one full season of homecoming. mum making. Even if you only made 3 mums, you're an experienced mum maker. You've made 3 mums. So don't compare yourself to other people, and if you've been making mums a long time, don't be rude and say things like that to people that haven't been making them as long as you have. I don't care if you've been making mums for 30 years. Everybody else has their own experience too, and they're constantly going to grow and learn and get better. And so don't worry about those people, those negative people. Just keep making mums. Just keep growing and learning, and you're just going to get better and better every year. That's what's happened to me. I have shown some of those first mums I made. I know I have, and I'll show them again if you guys want to see them. Because I know some of you are like, oh, you make such beautiful mums. I wish mine were like that. You just keep growing, keep learning. You're going to get better and better and better. We all have to start somewhere. I hope y'all enjoyed this video, and I want to thank Miss Susan, because not only did she order from me and love the mum and was such a joy to work with, but she watched along with some of the lives and watched me make her mum, and she was just such a pleasure to work with. So she has a wonderful senior night and enjoys her grandson's senior years. I just want to say a special thank you to her. I hope she sees this. Okay, guys, and also for that fantastic review she left me on Etsy. I appreciate that. All right, happy mum making, everyone. Happy crafting. Have a wonderful night. Be kind to yourself, be kind to others, and be kind to other mum makers as well. Bye, y'all.